Peace, peace. What is up, family? Um, okay, so I guess today I don't know where I'm gonna be looking. And also welcome to Occult Cat TV. So today I wanted to talk about reincarnation and spirit guides. So when we come to this plane from the 5D or wherever plane we choose to come from, other dimensions, we we come into this physical and we're soul going into a body. So now if you're before you make your human self or say your avatar kind of just like in a video game, you're going to choose specifically different attributes to be awakened at certain times throughout said game, the matrix, life, whatever you want to call it, the universe. Now, before you go into the game, or into life, you're gonna have a few what we call spirit guides or homies or just guides there to help you and make sure that you kind of don't lose your way, or at least kind of like they influence you, not in like manipulation or anything like that, but they're always gonna be with you and they're kind of like just whispering in your ear here and there, like just sure that's a good idea. That sounds like a good idea. Or just depending on your communication with them, it can be heightened through clairsentience, cognizance, things like that. Um, but and they're nothing to fear. Like they're in a sense they're like you, just not in the physical. No, sorry, one second. Okay, now it's kind of like before you choose to incarnate, you actually sit around with them. Like let's look at it like a council kind of. There's a whole bunch of people at a table, and you're like, hey guys, I'm gonna reincarnate right now, and then they're like, bro, are you sure you want to do that? And then you're like, yeah, I gotta raise the frequency. I gotta help out this place. And then they're like, ooh, that's a hefty one. Okay, we'll help you out, fam. So as you're choosing what you are and choosing to incarnate, they're over you and they're guiding you, kind of like they're the ones that they oversee this incarnation and that you kind of do what you're supposed to do. Um, and they just they guide you. Hmm. In a sense, they make sure that you are connected to your higher self. And as we maintain that connection with our higher self, and we keep our vibration like in a sense like very high, then we have better connections with them and we have better connections with the universe, because in a sense your mind is also the universe, so you are everything. And if you are everything, that means you have everything, but you just don't know it and you don't have it. Like in a sense you don't have it yet, but say you close your eyes and you think of a image of like a cat or something like that. You can literally like, or dog, like let's go dogs, especially like females with dogs. You close your eyes, you imagine that dog and you imagine petting that puppy, and then you get happy based off that, right? So now, I mean, I don't really care about like physical things or money, but a lot of people use law of attraction or manifestation, or in a sense it's all just magic, to try to get things in the physical, such as like a car. You've all heard like, oh, go in meditation, envision a car, you driving it, Lamborghini, stuff like that. And and then like eventually like the day comes where you were able to manifest that through your own means, 3D. Like everyone has different levels of manifestation, so it's different depending on the practitioner or the person. Um, but the higher self and the spirit guides are, in a sense, always there to make sure that you are on your path and doing what it is that you're meant to do. Not like, not pushing you like slave drivers or anything like that, but just making sure that, because you don't, in a sense, you don't want to like die unfulfilled, right? So what it, in a sense, what it is like a divine guidance. It's kind of like, your third eye, in a sense, where it's like you can see clearly with your third eye, um and clear hearing and clear cognizance, stuff like that. You can see the matrix, and through that you're able to manipulate it. But at the same time, you're not outside of the matrix. Like when you, before going into we'll just call it, I hate using that word, but that's the best word to define it, the simulation, the matrix. You kind of can see your whole life, in a sense, and because you're creating it, right? Like you're, on a video game screen, stuff like that. Like in GTA, you could shoot. Oh my, okay. It got so deep in GTA to the point where you could literally create your family lineage, and that created the attributes and the characteristics of what you had now. So it gets like, in a sense, it gets that deep. Like same with like Sims, kind of. And while you're creating who it is that you are, you're gonna be like, okay, I'm gonna set this up for me, I'm gonna set that up for me, like, like different events, meeting people that have just the right information, synchronicities to kind of like remind myself or remind you who you are and stuff like that. And that being said, when you're in the matrix though, and you see all these things start to happen to you, like you're like, oh, okay, cool, synchronicities. I'm seeing numbers 111, 444, 333. What's one I see like all the time? I see like pretty much 444 and 777 all the time. Maybe like 1111, 555. Different numbers that kind of pertain to me, but those are like, the main ones. I'll just have synchronicities where it's like I'll be hanging out with a friend and I'm like, did I even want, like, did I want to hang out with this friend today? And then I'm like, part of me is just like, yeah, go with it, like, that intuitive part. And it's like, okay, I go, and then like thinking maybe I'll have a bad time, he just says something like completely out of the blue, where it kind of like hits me, where I'm like, whoa, dude, that's a little bit deeper than what you usually talk about. And I knew that was like kind of like, a synchronistic, something synchronistic that was placed in front of me. And that's just like kind of like a sign where it's like I know that there's something more than me. Like I don't really look at like, there's a lot of things before God, but you could say the universe, or like the source energy, or just like, in a sense, like your higher self placed in front of you, so that you could progress and understand what it is you're supposed to do. Because like I'll have some days where I really won't, I don't know, just like I feel like life has stopped and I kind of don't understand what's gonna happen next. Like I understand what's happening and I can see where I'm going, but I kind of just, I don't understand it. And then out of nowhere, like I'll have a synchronicity of talking to someone just randomly on the street, and then they'll kind of like spit some like mad facts, and I'm just like, that, dang, like that completely changed my day. Like just that, like when I came in contact with their consciousness, and just like what the words that they had to say, like it's just, me and you talking, but it's going, we're a multidimensional creature, so it's going on multiple levels. So it's like, if there's a higher aspect of him that's connecting to a higher aspect of me, I'm gonna hear like information, in a sense, but I'm also gonna be psychically downloading information from that person's higher self. So which, in a sense, like, changes me. It's like when you listen to like a lecture that is like completely like way more conscious than what you are, it kind of like brings you up to like that level to at least kind of like meet them, and it raises your vibration. And it's like when your vibration's raised, that's when better things start to kind of happen. Like that's why there's this whole push. Okay, I know I'm going like pretty off topic and stuff. But like that's why there's this whole push for like, stop eating like kind of junk, or at least in the spiritual community, stop eating junk food, start eating more high vibrational alkaline foods, because it's also when when you have a lot of energy in you from foods, meditation, yoga, exercise, reading, focus, just different things, you're functioning at a completely different level than either what you were when you were eating junk food, or or other people just, just that only junk food and like don't meditate and like do all these low vibrational things. But when you start to do low or high vibrational things, that's when your reality completely starts to change. Like, do you remember, if you meditate, do you remember when you didn't meditate? Like, for me, I used to be very anxious. I used to not be like very clear with my words. I always had a lot on my mind. I was really like emotional, but didn't like, just didn't express it really. Like, just kind of like me when I was like more low vibrational. I noticed a gigantic change when I started to like just eat better. I started to meditate like a lot actually, like like yoga, um go for runs, stuff like this, like all these like more high energy things. Life like just completely changes because it's like what you're feeding yourself. Like, you can either be feeding your mind and your body and everything, like your reality, with shit, or you can, step it up and like start like living from a more high vibrational perspective. Because it's like, in a sense, like the whole goal of, like, I guess this is kind of going into ascension, but I'm gonna make that a different video. But the whole goal for reincarnation, and like, we're gonna bring it around to here. The whole reason for incarnating and having spirit guides in general is to have like the best experience that you can while still being a human being. And I'm also going to talk about like going into, in a sense, like being a human and going through ascension on a later video. Just let me know, like leave comments, stuff like that. But in a sense, you're trying to have like the best life that you can here, and you have a guidance team that's helping you. So for me, out of nowhere, like I started eating like really really healthy and stuff like that. Like, it's for me, I used to literally just drink Dr. Pepper and just eat junk food and play video games all the time, and just like, I had a life too. Like, I kind of like an okay balance. I was still back then very addicted to video games. So that was still like a lot that was like constantly being kind of like fed to me and stuff. But when you start to live from a higher perspective, you're literally, in a sense, you start to awaken your soul. That's also like what things like fasting are for. And when you start to like awaken your soul, in a sense, you're literally, and this is the whole reason for incarnating, in a sense, you're literally a divine being fully made out of energy and light that's in the matrix, which is just a simulation. And I know that that's kind of like, I guess, like hard to understand or like maybe elaborate on, but when you fully start to incorporate your your higher self, your high vibrations into your vessel, your whole reality starts to change. Like, what you think about even starts to change. Like the people that want to manifest and have like amazing life and try to manifest like all this like BS that's retarded, like, car, money, girlfriend, like these things that you can literally just do without even a thought. Like, it's like, oh, I just send in an application, bam, I have a job. Like, maybe like thinking better to get a better job, maybe be an entrepreneur, more of a high vibrational thing. So you're not really like a slave to the matrix. But the whole reason for, in a sense, raising your vibe on that stuff is to increase your experience. Because I've noticed when, like, okay, I was listening to this guy named Asha Renew on YouTube, and he was literally like I'm not at this point yet, but him and his friend went to a park, and and he was meditating, and his friend was just like being his eyes and ears, because like, he didn't go in depth onto why this, but I can kind of understand like someone just like doing random things to you like when you're meditating, like, so having a homie just to make sure. But he's just meditating for 45 minutes. Someone just walks up, shakes his hand, like gives him money, like, and I commented, I'm just like, you seem like someone that's, like a guru in a mountain that's meditating, and people come to them. Like, to either give offerings or like ask questions, like these things where if you weren't meditating, it would be a completely different kind of story. But he really showed to me that when you start to do these things, especially like out in the open, that is when, like, in a sense, like your reality starts to change as well. Like for him, like things like that probably didn't used to happen. Same with like me, like random things or synchronicities didn't used to happen until I started to kind of awaken what it is that was inside of me, and I started to try to manifest what it is that I wanted in life. Like, and from like these higher aspects kind of thing. Like, okay, you can either ask for a car, money, like all these things, give someone a fish, and they'll eat for a day. Give them, or teach them how to fish, so they can fish for a lifetime. That's also kind of like what your guides are trying to do for you, is like teach you how to be your higher. Yeah, that's the best thing. Teach you how to be your higher self. So when you start to like live high vibrationally, and that's also synchronicities kind of thing, to like raise your vibration and show you, there's more than just what you're thinking or what you're looking at. It's opening your mind, or expanding your consciousness to the higher aspects that is you. So it's like when you just want to manifest these like lower chakra things, then that's all you're gonna get, and it's gonna be a kind of a lot harder, because you're just focusing on those lower chakra things, like safety, comfort, stability. But when you're looking at it from a higher perspective and kind of going into your heart and realizing that the best thing for you isn't physical things, but is to feel comfort in your life internally, to feel okay with yourself, to feel love and stuff like this. And this right now, okay, I'm gonna go into deities, or at least just Oshun specifically, but like going off like the topic a little bit with with guides and stuff. But I started working with the deity Oshun, and I didn't, for me, when it comes to spirituality, I don't really care about money. I don't really care about the physical, until like some people will always project that on me, and I'll think that I need that, but I really, in a sense, I really don't. But I started working with Oshun, and I'm like, and my name's O'Shea, and she's also my life path number deity. And I had a consultation with Indigo Priestess. She's a person very knowledgeable, if you wanted to like look her up too. But she was telling me through the consultation, and she's like, like clairvoyant or like psychic, things like that, through the consultation, that a few deities were making themselves apparent to me. Apparent, get it, lol. Making themselves known to me, such as Oshun. And I thought, because I didn't think I'd work with her, but when she told me that, I was like, oh my god, okay, I need to work with her and just kind of see why it is that she's calling out to me. Or, if you want to look at it from a more scientific perspective, an archetypal reference is trying to reach myself from within that I'm not using at the moment. Such as for me, like, I'm a very loving, kind, caring person. All these, like, divine mother attributes, such as like Oshun. She's the goddess, in a sense, goddess of like waters, beauty, fertility, divination, and I have an affinity for also like Egyptian gods and goddesses, and she's also the Egyptian god Isis. And another deity on my path is also Ganesh, which you can kind of look at as Horus a little bit. A lot of people will say maybe Shiva, but I kind of like look at them as similar, like Ganesh and Horus. And I've always felt like, in a sense, like a Horus kind of archetype strongly. So let's go back to the Oshun though. So when it comes to Oshun, what I wanted to bring out in myself were these qualities that Oshun had, because they're kind of laying dormant in me. Like, I'm a very loving person for other people. I'm good at reading other people, but not myself. I'm not really good at self-love, things of that manner. So what I did when I reached out to her was I wanted to just get to know myself, but I wanted to get to know her too, but I wanted to get to know myself better, understanding self-love, understanding why it is that I do the things I do, wanting to create better relationships for myself. And with these archetypal references, it actually started to change my life. Like, it's it's kind of like energy. Like, you can call on energies just in general. But in a sense, I was calling on these energies of Divine Mother, love, divination, things that I wanted to bring out myself. And as I started working with her more and more, I started to actually love myself like more and more. And I just noticed like it was kind of out of nowhere. Like it was just I stopped minding things. I stopped thinking negatively. I started doing these like positive things, these high vibrational things out of nowhere. Like it just actually completely changed my mind. And like not like she was manipulating my mind. Well, you can look at that from two different ways where it's like manipulation in a positive perspective or manipulation in a negative perspective. But in a sense, she was manipulating my mind in a positive sense through me calling upon that energy. And again, it's also like with people that work with I'm not gonna say the word. I hate the word demon, but people that work with daemons, also known as teaching spirits, like they kind of do a similar thing, but depending on the daemon, it's an archetypal reference, or it can actually be like that physical, or I mean that etheric deity, or because daemons are also called ancient gods. So etheric deity such as like Lucifer, when you call upon like them, they can literally force a change in you overnight. But when it came to working with Oshun, it was very loving, it was very calm, it was very it helped me to kind of understand like, okay, this is why I wasn't getting like that part of myself, because that was also karma and something I kind of, in a sense, like karma, but something I needed to like learn. So she was able to kind of just show me that like, oh, you aren't loving yourself, but that's what you need. Because I never, like, it's easy to just tell someone, oh, you love yourself, but you're just you're kind of like, what does that mean to just love yourself? Okay, so I branched off topic a little bit, but pretty much to wrap it all up, um, in a sense, spirit guides, gods, goddesses, daemons, your higher self, which is I'll get to in a later video about, in a sense, like your higher self or daemon, like is just a teacher, is the higher aspect of you or a teacher spirit, the godly aspect of you, because in a sense you are a god that chose to incarnate. And just like many other gods, like if you look, if we'll go with say if you look at the Goetia, ancient deities, daemons, demons, stuff like that. I kind of relate us to like a daemon, or I mean, actually, in a sense, through the hermetic principles, or also known through hermetics. The higher self is actually also known as the daemon. At the moment, I forgot what the lower self, or what we, in a sense, we are in the human vessel is. Um, but it's called the daemon. So I kind of just look at it like the Goetia, where say King Paimon or Lucifer or Person, which he's also known as Horus and stuff like that. So this again shows us that they're deities and they're not to be feared or anything like that. They're actually here to help you on your path to ascension. When you look at like a deity such as Person, he's known as a king. He's a god. He's Horus, but he also has legions of spirits under him, or legions of demons or jinn, depending on who they are. King Paimon has more of like jinn because he's a jinn, um, or he's like a jinn archetype in reference. So when it comes to that, it's kind of like you are a god and you have legions, and what your legions are like, like one legion's like 1,000 spirits helping you. So if you look at say Person or Horus, he has a legion of spirits helping him. Now if you look at it, your higher self as a god or like a deity, you also have legions of spirits, or depending on how many guides you have, or spirit guides, depending on how many guides you have these legion also benefiting and helping you as because you are a god. So now when you start to use these, sorry, this is such a long video, but when you start to use these references, or when you start to use these spirit guides, or in a sense your own legion, and like through your third eye, that's also when you start to be able to communicate with them or hear them. But using that legion, you can use that legion to manifest. You can, because all it is just a whole bunch of energy. And why wouldn't you want to, in a sense, tap into that energy? Because, and I remember Bobby Hemmett talking about this, but through the closer that you get to your higher self, um, that's the closer you get to also your spirit guides or your legion of spirits trying to that help you. And he was talking, and Bobby Hemmett was talking about being able to manifest with this legion, and like he would talk to them and he'd command them to do something, you know, just like a magician commanding a daemon. But that's more, at least for what I just said, a magician commanding a daemon, that's more of older type of thinking. Nowadays, we talk to the daemon as if it's our friend because we understand that you're not supposed to command it. That's old, and I just want to make that clear. That's old magical thinking. But when it comes to yourself and your own hierarchy and your own daemons or hierarchy of spirits, you can command them and ask them to do things. And like for him, I think he had like, okay, this is like a kind of a dumb example, but he had a toothache, and then he's like, spirits, help me heal this toothache. And they're like, I don't know if I want to do that. And then he's like, no, I command you to do it now. And then they did just like that. Like, and for him, he's a very high level manifester. So they've also helped him like a lot in his life, just manifest and do what it is that, like, the work that he needs to do. Because he's very in tune and close to his higher self. And he was even talking about as you start to connect to your higher self, that's when you start to unlock this I think it was called an agrodamian, which is also your higher self. So in a sense, we're all gods that chose to incarnate and turn back into our higher self while in this flesh. And that's also what's known as ascension. And these are, I kind of don't exactly know where I was going to go next, but I'm pretty much going to end the video here. And this is what we chose to incarnate for. We didn't choose to. I'm also going to say this as a message at the end. So this is what we chose to incarnate for. We chose to incarnate to understand our God self and ascend. We didn't choose to incarnate to just eat junk food and go to school and drive a car and do all these like human things. Yes, you're going to do these because we are in the Matrix, and we want to, on our path, be able to master ourselves, which in turn masters the physical plane and also our spiritual plane that we hold inside of ourselves, because we are also the universe. Hi, my name is O'Shea. I'm probably either going to put this on Left Hand Path of the Cool Cat or Occult Cool Cat TV, depending on if that's how I choose to name it. I'm getting new to this stuff. I just love learning about this stuff. I love talking about it, but I'm kind of new to talking about it. If you have any questions about spirituality, higher self, magic, whatever it is, just, ask him away. Ask him in the comments. I need kind of ideas for videos. I just love to do research. And have a wonderful day, family. Peace, peace. Like.